Welcome to My Business Matters, the Michigan Chamber podcast.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jim Holcomb, President and CEO of the Michigan Chamber and your podcast host today. We're going to be talking about a segment of the industry that may be small and how they're described, but one that truly makes a big impact every day in our state's economy, across Michigan communities, and for every Michigander. And that's our over 900,000, I believe, small businesses that are located here in Michigan. A warm welcome to two great guests today. Amy Rencher, Senior VP of Small Business Services for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and Lillian Werbin. She's the new co-owner and president of a capital city staple, Elderly Instruments, and she also happens to be this year's America's Top Small Business winner. Wow, that is just a wonderful kind of accomplishment. Lillian, how'd that come about?
You know, we are blessed to be recognized as the America's Top Small Business. It was an application process, and we were chosen out of 15,000 applicants.
Good for you. That's tremendous.
Thank you.
Was it stressful?
It's more stressful after the fact, I'll be honest. There has been a whirlwind of celebration from all over the nation, and it's been a lot of fun and a lot of stress to keep up with, but yeah. It's really quite fun.
That's a wonderful recognition, and we're proud to have you right here in Lansing's capital city. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
And Amy, can you, why don't we start with you? You know, small business is such an important part of our economy here in Michigan and across communities across our great state. Can you tell us a little bit about the small business scene in Michigan? Where do we rank nationally, and how are small businesses faring in Michigan?
Well, certainly, and really want to start by echoing Jim's congratulations to Lily for her team's recognition. It is truly outstanding, and we are certainly extraordinarily proud to have America's Top Small Business in Michigan and around the corner here in Lansing. So congratulations again to you and your team for all your hard work. So now about the kind of theme at large. That was the fun part to start with.
Yeah, it's great to celebrate the big wins.
We love it.
We have a celebrity on the microphone with us.
Yeah, we are among those celebrities. That is true. And so, Michigan has such a rich culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. You know, small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. You got it right. There are some 900,000 small businesses in Michigan, accounting for nearly 100%, 99% of all Michigan businesses. And the employment here is important, too. Small business employees account for 47% of our workforce. So, this is, we think of small businesses, and I think our mind goes to things like the sweet shop downtown that sells our favorite treats, the glass blowing, our pottery stores, these other, fun experiential type things that we enjoy, particularly around this time of year with our friends and family. The brewery pouring a new draft, right? Again, catching up with friends and new loved ones. But there's so much more, right? We are makers here in the state of Michigan and have been, throughout our history. Manufacturing is in our lifeblood, and there's so many facets of how that plays out in our economy. So important, particularly in a time when, both the economy is so rapidly shifting, and we are really stepping forward as leaders. When you think about our, significant investments into EV technologies and other advanced manufacturing, climate tech, and just advanced mobility to begin with. And small businesses are part of all this. It's a tremendous time to be here, and Michigan is playing a significant role in leaders for what the landscape looks like moving forward.
Yeah, it's really exciting to drive across the state and meet with people, and you see what small business owners are doing everywhere. But I think what people don't appreciate is the tremendous risk that is taken and what it takes to build a small business. Lillian, you have a great story, your family business. Can you kind of tell us a little bit, how did that come about for you?
For me, like you said, I'm in a family business, and so I inherited hard work and reputation. But it's still, I represent not just myself and my father, I represent all of our staff, and we have 41 employees. And so Amy was just saying 47% of the Michigan's workforce is in small business. And so it really speaks to how many individuals make up this economy and how much hard work really goes into a small business. That's my job, is representing that. And that's what I fell in love with, was being able to find compromise within one unit and make it forward thinking for everybody involved.
Yeah, how much pressure is it being a small business person when you look out and you have your employees and you're like, I'm responsible for you and your family and we're doing everything possible? That's got to be, kind of a daunting task.
Yeah, it's heart-wrenching just to kind of think about. I'm technically a young business owner. I'm under 40, I'll say that. And so my being responsible for families that frankly remember when I was adopted, it is a lot of pressure, and I spend a lot of time balancing my own anxiety with my ability to make a difference for those people.
Yeah. As you kind of move forward with business, how much do you take from the mentorship of your father, and how much is your own original? I would assume there's a little bit of stress. Sometimes you're like, man, we've done it this way, but I really think if we go my way, it's maybe a little different or a little better.
I'd say we run into that daily, but my dad is still quite involved, and he and I are lucky that we respect and like each other's opinions and ideas about business. Yep. We spend a lot of time compromising and balancing the old way with the new. And so we can shift a protocol or change a process as long as it's housed within the original idea of elderly. We have core values that essentially were started in the 70s and have just perpetuated through time. And so my dad and I, if we focus on the core of the business, whatever endeavor we go on forward, we have the support of our staff, we have their opinions and their input. And so it is this really healthy melding of different opinions and ways to do business.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful culture, and some of the most successful business people I know operate exactly that way. It's not dictatorial top-down. It's how do you involve your employees, because their perspective, they're either on your shop floor, they're in the instrument store with yours, or maybe they're in the candy shop. They're living it daily.
Yes, it's
their hands. They know how to do it. They know what they want. They can come to you and say, hey, you mess with this process, we're really going to screw something up, or here's a different way to do it.
We try, and of course every business owner tries to do this and has varying levels of success, but we try to not implement a new endeavor without the input of our staff. Since I've been in the picture, we've certainly changed faster and changed more than we had in decades previous.
A new perspective.
But it speaks to those who were there in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, because their input is still paramount to how we do business today.
Well, that's tremendous. Amy, you referenced the 47% of the workforce is small business. Is that number fairly, I don't want to say static because that sounds negative, but are we fairly stable with that? I'm wondering, especially with COVID and with technology, what that's doing to the small business workforce.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the number is relatively stable. We often cite the SBA for their economic profiles by state for small business data. But Michigan in the past couple of years really has been a leader in new business starts, and that's important. I made mention to, the kind of shifting nature of our economy right now and these historic investments we are making into, advanced manufacturing and climate technology and the like. That plays a part of it, right? And place does too, right? So this is give and take, right? We think about this big, exciting new industries and all the technology and advancement that goes with that, and whether we're attracting new people to our state or keeping the ones that we have here with their families as they grow. Everybody wants a great sense of place, right? And so we have such a beautiful climate and so many distinct communities and cultures here throughout the two peninsulas. It's really an asset that very few other, I would argue, any other state can really match.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Whether it's diversity of the people, diversity of our geography and our climate, it really does attract people. I think a lot of times you think about what other portions of the MEDC do and their work in trying to attract some of the jobs to the state, especially the jobs of tomorrow. But what makes a difference is when somebody tours a community and they said, there's a lot of swing sets, and there's a downtown, and there's a place to go where I can gather, and there's community, and that really kind of envelops people and says, I want to be part of this. And I would think that would make it easier for other parts of the MEDC to attract businesses when we do have strong, vibrant communities that are small business driven.
That's absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better. Placemaking and preserving, communities and our culture across the state is critically important, and it's a key economic competitiveness advantage that we have.
Lillian, right now we're going through kind of up and down in our economy. We're coming out of a pandemic. People are redetermining what does work mean for them and what's a work-life balance. What are the challenges you face as a small business person with your staff, or just trying to make sure you're planning for the future? Because we all want predictability in our business, but it doesn't always work that way. No,
the pandemic allowed us to rethink a lot of how we do work. Historically, we had never had work from home. We're a music store. People have to have their instruments in hand. We have repairmen. You can't repair when you're not in front of the bench. But we now do have people working from home, and we have some flexible schedules that came about from childcare shortages or new expenses happening, new caregiving situations. And so I think being flexible in the new climate is most important to kind of navigate it. I don't think we can really predict where it's going, but I think we can lay out a couple options or possibilities. And being able to recognize those possibilities and plan ahead for those is kind of how we focus on the future in terms of workforce.
Amy, what are some of the services, or what do people, the small business community people in Michigan, what do they come to the MEDC for, and how can you help them either establish themselves or grow?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Jim, the small business work here is really an integrated part of the broader work of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation as well. And so, we're sometimes more known by the, bigger business attraction or retention we do. We certainly work in very close partnership with our community development partners. We think about, their leadership in over the national Main Street communities throughout the state and our redevelopment-ready communities. And then drilling down further, to more so the programmatic or direct service level, you would be surprised how many touch points the MEDC has to the state small business ecosystem. We are a humble crew, and I think we're learning how to better tell our story to that end. But, for example, the MEDC provides the critical match funding that the Small Business Development Center needs to serve all 83 counties in the state of Michigan. They serve nearly 10,000 businesses a year through incredible, one-on-one support and meeting the needs, distinct by region as their team is spread throughout the state. It's a real pleasure to work with them, and they're just one, part of the equation. We have specific partnerships with the Edward Lowe Foundation to target second stage businesses. We talked here about, sustaining the legacy of a family-owned business and growing and leading through succession planning. That plays a critical part in our state's economy, particularly right now. And then there's a newer endeavor that we're really excited. We just announced in the past week the Small Business Support Hub. So we use $73 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds to award 27 hubs across the state to support small businesses. And they're doing everything from one-on-one support to pitch competitions to mentorship, networking, matchmaking events. Helping folks access capital, talking about succession planning, big ideas, big outcomes here, both for new businesses and established businesses alike.
So you're putting people on the ground in the communities, helping everybody grow and establish and strengthen everyone around them.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in both your perspectives on technology and what that is doing in small business. Regardless of industry, it just seems like it's touching all of our lives. Lily and I were talking before we went on air here about phones, and everybody can get you everywhere, and you can find, and I know I read emails and do things. How do you see technology? Is it becoming a hindrance, like it's almost too much, or is it just constantly helpful? And Lillian, we'll start with you.
We actually did a full tech overhaul this year for the third time in 5 years.
Oh, my goodness.
But this one is the best one. This one really feels good. But we went from a all-encompassing tech system that did all of it and it was a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
We went to the masters of one that all speak to one another. And so what that did, it de-hassled my staff. It made it so we could catch different mistakes and in the process sooner than where we were able to previous. So I'm of the mind that if you embrace technology to assist the human being, there's more longevity in it. I don't like the idea of replacing humans with AI.
I would
it
agree.
scares me quite a bit. But we use ChatGPT in small ways, but not without human touches. And so I think we can use tech to make human beings better, but can't replace them.
I would agree with you. Amy, how about you? How do you see technology impacting the small business environment here in Michigan?
Yeah, well, we talk about challenges here, and Lily has taken on a key challenge, really, of business owners of this generation, right? Integrating technology into your business, improving digital acumen of yourself and your employees, and staying competitive, right? We enjoy a rich culture of independent small business ownership here in the state, and we really want to retain that. And so that means that it's part of my responsibility and my team here to make sure we're getting the tools and resources in the hand of small business owners so that they can, create that mobile app, so they can do the coffee ordering online. So, I'm ordering the coffee before I leave my house. Instead of going to Starbucks, I'm going to kick over, to my local coffee store around the corner because they've, recognized that this is a need now, right? Folks need convenience. It's part of our economy. We crave efficiency. And that doesn't have to be, separate from small business. I think a lot of people, sort of bifurcate the traditional brick and mortar mom and pop small business and the sort of big tech. And really, this is an integrated landscape now. And so the more we lean into that uncomfortable space and we at the state work with our partners to share those skills and resources on the ground, the better we'll all be.
As you do deal with the small business community, what do you think the biggest misconception is of small business owners?
Oh, my goodness.
There are so many.
Yeah.
Well, you got me something, but I won't. Maybe I'll flip it a little bit to say that, I touched on, independent ownership there versus, franchise and chains, and there's a place for that too, most certainly. But you can't beat the experiential, feel of retail. Like walking into a store, having a conversation, right? This is the Midwest. We are friendly people. We crave this, form of communication and connection, and we really excel at that here. And I think it's something that, again, sets us apart, and it's an important part. And when you think about as a consumer, right, we're all consumers here in the state about how we spend our money. The value of that dollar in our state to our friends and family and communities and neighbors is significant. So, I would just encourage folks, every time you think about clicking on that button to Amazon, think, can I get this locally? Can I drive up the street? Can I ride my bike? Can I make a call? Because it matters.
Yes.
It does matter. Those small businesses are employing our friends, neighbors, and family, and they're making sure that we can get to that service or product immediately, that we aren't waiting, that we can just drive down. We're getting kind of close on time here. Lillian, I wanted to know from you, what advice would you offer someone who's thinking about entering the world of small business? You've come at it through kind of succession planning, but you're dealing with it now as front center. What would you tell someone?
Well, you are the least important part of your business. I think business owners, small business owners, really rely heavily on their staff and the people who are working that day-to-day job. The workload that Elderly Instruments sees on a daily basis takes 41 people. It doesn't take 2; it takes 41. And so, I'm always interested in looking for cool new ideas and in insight from my staff. And I think anybody starting a new business or who has a small business could always look at, who do I have and what am I overlooking or not paying attention to.
Well, ladies, unfortunately, that is the end of our time today, but thank you so much. The time always flies, but a very special thanks to Amy and Lillian. Our state small business are truly an invaluable part of our state's fabric, a part of our heart and success here in Michigan, and we want to make sure that we support them this Saturday, November 25th, for Small Business Saturday. And to all of our listeners, please tune in to our next episode, subscribe and like our podcast for easy notifications. And until then, shop local, support those businesses who are working to strengthen our communities across the state.